All right, it looks like I am live. I am actually testing out StreamYard for the very first time on my YouTube channel. I want to get to the point where I'm able to talk to other people live on YouTube. I'm currently looking at doing another show in addition to the podcast and the pop culture podcast that I do. I'm actually looking to do a political show, which should be interesting. I definitely want to keep politics as far away from my pop culture stuff as possible. I do have to do a little bit of the mixing of it, unfortunately, just because of what's going on today. But I try to keep it as nonpartisan as possible because I don't want to. I don't appreciate it when people throw politics into my pop culture. That over the top politics into my pop culture. So I don't want to do that to you either. So I'm experimenting with StreamYard. This is the first time that I'm using it, and we'll see how it goes. Right now, it looks like it's pretty straightforward. Obviously, I'm not talking to anybody else, but I kind of wanted to familiarize myself with how this system works a little bit, and from there. I kind of wanted. Sorry about that. I accidentally started looking at my YouTube channel while I was doing this. So anyway, it's a learning process with SteamYard. So I do these weekly YouTube shows to talk about basically to kind of sum up the previous week's Rogues Radio podcast to provide sort of a visual supplement. I keep saying I'm going to have visual aids and like figures and stuff like that, but actually, this is going to help me if I learn how to use StreamYard. I should be able to actually share images with you and actually prepare this a little bit better, and then I can actually at least show images to you and hopefully not get a copyright flag, but at least show you a few things and really make this a more visual presentation. So that's another reason why I'm going ahead and I'm testing out StreamYard today. I'm not talking to anybody because I do want to eventually be able to do screen shares with you so that you can see what it is that I'm talking about. So regarding the last episode, Dave and we talked about 24-hour comic book day. That was the main topic of the show. Dave had just participated in a 24-hour comic book day in Clarkdale, Arizona. Hope I said that right. And it's a benefit for, I believe, for the library there in Clarkdale, Arizona. This is the second time he had done this event. It's a good show. Even if you're not interested in comic books, even if you've never heard of a 24-hour comic book challenge, I think you'll be interested in it. The way I was able to relate to it myself, since I've never done a 24-hour comic book day challenge, was I related to the film challenges that I've done in the past. There are 24, 48, and 72-hour film challenges all across the United States. Seems like they used to be a lot more popular than they are now. Certainly, where I live in Arizona. It seems like they kind of went away. There was sort of a peak where there was like 2 or 3 contests every year, and now I don't even know if there are any right now. But those were a lot of fun, and Dave talks about the comic book challenge, and I relate to it, as I said, with the film challenges that I've done in the past. In our news segment, we talked about the Star Wars news with Kevin Feige in terms of him going ahead and being confirmed to produce a Star Wars film. I thought that was really interesting. I thought that the timing in particular was really interesting and weird as far as why did they make that announcement when they did with another Star Wars film coming out. So you can get Dave's take on that as well. I do think it's kind of interesting having Feige and Kathleen Kennedy together. They're both basically studio heads. Kevin Feige essentially is the head of Marvel Studios, Kennedy the head of Lucasfilm. Granted, Kevin Feige has done that already with Sony, so I mean, I guess you can see it, it working. But with Sony, I mean, we all understand the deal. We all understand why they're doing that. It's because they want Spider-Man in the MCU. With Star Wars, it becomes much less clear. Why do you need Kevin Feige when you have Kathleen Kennedy? And I think that's the ultimate question there. Also, speaking of Kevin Feige and Spider-Man, we talked about that they got back together. I thought that was really interesting, and the deal that was made. Apparently, they split the difference before Disney was trying to go for a 50-50 split. It sounds like they agreed on 25% for Disney, and they're going forward with basically two movies. So there'll be like one, probably an Avengers movie. It could be a team up with some other MCU character. There's that rumor that they're going to team up Spider-Man with Captain Marvel. And then also there's one additional Sony film, one additional Spider-Man film that will be in the MCU. So in other words, it will use MCU characters like the other Spider-Man films have. So I think that's good news for fans, but I think it's interesting news as far as business-wise. So any way you look at it, it's an interesting story. We also talked about the CW Crisis event that's going on. I don't know a lot about it. Unfortunately, I am a cord cutter. Well, it's not unfortunate I'm a cord cutter. I think it's awesome that I'm a cord cutter. But unfortunately, I don't get my local CW affiliate anymore. I used to get it fine. And within the last year, it no longer, I don't get it anymore. And so there's several channels that I have problems with my antenna, even some of the other network channels. It's just because I think of the way my house is situated and because the way they do signals now, which, I kind of have this, I don't know, maybe conspiracy theory that because so many people have cable and satellite and stream and all that kind of stuff, that they're kind of neglecting the broadcast towers, especially with the local CW affiliate. So the funny thing is that I actually recently got some new split channels. Any of you that have an antenna, you know what I'm talking about. You'll get multiple splits on the same channel. So it'll be like 45-1, 45-2, and 3, and like there's like 5 channels now there where there used to be 3, or there used to be 2. So it's kind of weird how that works. But I haven't been able to watch a lot of it. Even when I had access to it, I watched a little bit of Flash, but I never really got into any of the other shows. I tried to get into Supergirl, and I absolutely couldn't. Although I believe that was all the way back when it was still on CBS, I think at the time. And I really was like, oh man, because I really wanted to like that show. But I am interested in the Crisis event. We went over some of the big names that are going to be in it, like Brandon Roth, who plays Superman and Superman Returns. I guess is going to play the Crisis, not the Crisis version, the Kingdom Come version of Superman, which sounds pretty cool. That leads into what we're going to probably be doing next week, which I guess is actually this week. It's Monday, so we'll be recording on Wednesday. We're probably going to be doing Superman Returns as our main topic. Also, we had the Birds of Prey versus Joker controversy. We talked about that in our news segment. I thought that was pretty interesting. I have not seen Joker yet. Dave has. It's unlikely that I'm going to be able to watch Joker before my podcast with Dave, but I think what we might do is a spoiler-free review and talk about sort of the wider context of Joker, because that's what we talked about in our last show. Also, in particular, in regards to the way that Joker has been treated versus Birds of Prey. It's very interesting to me that both films are very violent, obviously, and had very violent trailers. Well, I wouldn't say, I guess that's a good point. How much violence is there actually in the Joker trailer? There's sort of like a lot of there were 2 Joker trailers prior to the film coming out. And I'm just kind of racking my brain right now thinking, well, how much real actual violence was in it, as opposed to say Birds of Prey. But they seem to have been treated differently. Now, Joker, it appears, is a resounding success. I've heard that it was the biggest October release ever. Last I heard, I think 94 million it did in its opening weekend domestically. So that doesn't even count international. So that's pretty good. And my personal impressions was that both of the Joker trailers intrigued me. Like I kept getting like, oh, this is really looks interesting. And the Birds of Prey trailer to me was just like garbage. I mean, trailers are supposed to get a person to go and want to watch the movie. That's the bottom line. I love trailers. I used to always say trailers are the best parts of the movies because, 90% of the trailers that they show at the movies, I'm not even going to get to see the movie. So the funny thing is, a lot of times the trailer has the best parts of the movie, which kind of ruins the movie sometimes. Let's be honest, right? Especially mediocre movies. But the good thing is Well, now I don't have to see the mediocre movie because I already saw the good parts in the trailer, right? So that's sort of my reasoning. I trailers are important to me, and so like for me, that first Birds of Prey trailer just doesn't make me want to watch the movie at all. Now, I will mention that I didn't like Suicide Squad either. So even though I thought Harley Quinn was the breakout star of that movie, I thought she was like, a giant among pygmies. Like none of the other characters were compelling to me at all, and I mean at all. I mean at all. I just don't like Suicide Squad. So, but I will say that Harley was the best thing of it. That doesn't say a whole lot to me because to me that's not Harley Quinn. It's not Harley Quinn at all. And to me, Harley Quinn, if she's not going to be the Joker's girlfriend, she's not Harley Quinn. I don't really care what the comics are doing anymore. Harley Quinn is from the animated series. Mad Love is a definitive Harley Quinn story. I have Mad Love, the graphic novel, in the Bruce Timm style. That's Harley Quinn. Okay, I'll just leave it like that. And I love Harley Quinn. I love Harley Quinn. So, but not necessarily the version that we're seeing now. So it is interesting what's going on with Joker, and also Birds of Prey. And then I always try to give a sort of like if a weekend news, if anything happened in between the shows, I like to talk about it here on my YouTube. And we did have an interesting thing happen with New York Comic Con. New York Comic Con had some interesting news for a variety of different shows and movies and things like that. The big one for me is Picard, the second Picard trailer. I watched it and I am concerned. When I initially saw the first trailer, I was cautiously optimistic and more optimistic. Now my optimism is definitely waning and I am more concerned. I'm more cautious about this. Here's a reason why. The marketing is very confusing to me. And I think Dave has a different take on all this, by the way. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about this in our news segment on the podcast. The marketing was confusing to me from the beginning before the first trailer came out. There was the big joke of this is Star Trek Vineyards. Nobody knew what the show was. Obviously, it was going through tons of reshoots and they didn't know what was going on. Then we saw the first trailer, and I was like really surprised. I was particularly surprised that Data was in it and 7 of 9 were in it because I thought, because that's what they were saying, was that this is not going to be a reunion show, so they're not going to be in it. I just figured that was something that they would do, that CBS All Access would do. And then I was pleasantly surprised that they were in it. And of course, it opened the door to, well, who else is in it? And we almost immediately found out that Troy's going to be in it, Riker's going to be in it. And then, of course, in this new trailer, we get to see them in it. And it really concerns me because on the one side, they keep saying, well, this is not a reunion show. And yet that trailer was a reunion trailer. So I'm really, once again, I'm like kind of like where I was at the beginning with Star Trek Vineyards. Now I'm like Star Trek, reunion. It's like, what is this show? I'm very unclear on it. I want to get into it. Like I was getting into it with a fan who had some theories about like who it was that 7 of 9 was clutching because she's crying and she's clutching somebody. I want to get into it, but I'm really concerned about that latest trailer, honestly, and about Star Trek Picard and ultimately what it's going to be. So we'll see. I'm going to talk to Dave about it. I think he has a different take on it. We'll also probably talk about the Discovery trailer. I guess I'll leave that for the show because I haven't seen Discovery other than the pilot, and then I've also seen the first episode of the second season. Although I know lots of spoilers, I've seen lots of other stuff, lots of write-ups and reviews. So I'm pretty knowledgeable about Discovery, and the trailer is pretty self-explanatory. As far as what's going on there. I don't think it's going to be a big mystery what my opinion of the Discovery trailer is, or for that matter, the short trek, the Enterprise short trek, which I know Dave is really big on the Captain Pike, the CBS All Access Captain Pike. I think I'll leave that for being able to talk to Dave about that. I'm not big on the short treks to begin with, honestly, but we'll see. We'll see, right? I haven't actually watched it. I just saw the trailer for it. I saw the teaser for it. So I think that's about it. We've got a little bit more time, but I think I'll go ahead and keep this short. Oh, one of the big things, like I mentioned, in the future, hopefully once I start really figuring out how to use StreamYard, I'll be able to start doing an actual real visual show where I'm able to actually put things in. And then hopefully, as time goes on, maybe Dave will be able to pop in. Maybe I'll be able to get somebody else to pop in and talk with me for a while. That could be fun. And I guess live long and prosper.